Morning guys, this is Big Brace. I was surprised to see that it's snowing today. This is probably the third time that it snowed from 2021, from the beginning of the year, and it's really cool. Take a look. Alright, take it easy guys.
Hey, what's going on guys? This is Backbrace with a new project in Python. I hope you guys staying home, warm and safe, drinking your hot beverage and not walking in the snow. As you saw, it's really cold, -9 here in Poland. So today we are going to build a loan calculator using one of the best GUI tools in Python, PyQt5. Now the most famous library for GUI interfaces in Python is Tkinter or Tkinter, and I have an old video for a loan calculator in Tkinter, but I wanted to give you guys a tutorial on how to use PyQt5 to create a useful financial instrument like a loan calculator. And by the way, Kiwi also started to gain popularity lately for creating desktop and mobile applications. PyQt5 is a cross-platform GUI toolkit, which means it can support the Windows, Linux and macOS systems, and also supports the Android and iOS platforms. So you can write your code on Windows and you will be sure that it will work on Linux, on macOS, even Android and iOS platforms. PyQt5 is a set of Python bindings of version 5 of the Qt application framework from the Qt company. This is the Qt company, and Qt uses C++ language to write its applications. So there are a lot of modules and classes that were created by Qt, and Python takes some of these classes, actually around 1000 modules and classes, and embedded inside PyQt5 module, okay? And we import the PyQt5 module in Python and we start writing our code. So this is how things work. If I will show you in product design tools, Qt uses a designer called Qt Design Studio, user interface design tool for applications. If you will take a look here, you'll find that this is C++ code actually. So this is how things work. We don't work directly with Qt, but with PyQt5, which takes actually these modules and classes from Qt. It was written in C++ originally, right? The company which is producing the PyQt5 is called Riverbank something, Riverbank Computing. And if you will scroll down, you'll find here modules and classes. So all of these classes actually are C++ classes or Qt original classes, alright? And we make use of them in our Python code. Alright, so pretty cool. Also, PyQt5 has a tool called Qt Designer, so let me show you very quickly. So instead of writing code and creating widgets and windows and so on, we can use the drag and drop methods. So here you have forms inside templates. You can use, you see here, dialog with button bottom, dialog with buttons right, dialog without buttons, main window, widget, for example. Let's say window or main window. That's created, and you'll find directly that we have a window that we can drop anything that we want here from the widget box. So let's say, for instance, we have a checkbox and we can control the size. Let's have a table widget, okay, and it looks like VBA for Excel user form designer. If you have worked with VBA, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you might not know, but I'm an accountant and I work with Excel on a daily basis. I also write code in VBA, and to create a user form in VBA, this is pretty much similar. It's exactly the same, I can say. Okay, so we can design our buttons, our forms. We can add a button here. This table we can double click. We can add few columns. We can add few rows. All right, and in matter of seconds, you have here a nice table, and can make like this. Can say submit, for example. Checkbox. Alright, so I think it's pretty cool tool, and especially for those who don't have time to create the layout of the application itself and they want to concentrate more on the functionalities, on the code itself. So they don't want to get bothered by typing code in order to do something simple like that. So this is a very good tool to just drag whatever widgets you want and drop them on the main window. Alright, so let's go ahead and start creating our loan application. But before, I would like to show you the end result of what we're going to be building. So this is our loan calculator. As you can see here on this bar, loan calculator as a small title. In the middle or in the center of the main window, loan calculator XYZ Bank, we have 3 labels with 3 input fields and the compute payment button to show the monthly payment and the total payment, total loan payment. Okay, so let's say the annual interest is 3%, number of years, let's say 10 years, and the total amount, let's say 200,000. Okay, we will click on compute payment and we get instantly monthly payment 1,931 and 21 cents, and the total payment $231,745 and 20 cents. So you take a loan of 200,000 and you repay it for $231,745 and 20 cents. So this is the main application that we're going to be building. And let's go to our command prompt or your terminal, depending on your operating system. I want to go to desktop and I want to create a folder. I will call it loan-calc PyQt. Okay. And let's enter that. And I will create a virtual environment. I will create it through pip-env. Okay, so if you don't have it, you can install it like that. And once that installed, you can activate your virtual environment by pip-env shell command. And this is very cool because you don't have to install everything globally on your system, but just only for this specific project inside your folder, inside this project. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead and install the PyQt5 module. So pip-env install PyQt5 and make sure that the P and the Q are capitalized. So we'll install that first. Then we have another package called PyQt5 tools. So once that's done, we will install the second package. Now let's go ahead and install the second package, pip-env install PyQt5 tools. So PyQt5, all in small letters like that, dash tools. Okay, good. So let's clear the terminal and we're good to go. So let's open our Visual Studio Code by typing code space dot and hit enter. And this should open Visual Studio Code window without doing it manually. Let's close the welcome page and let me create a file main.py. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to import some libraries. So importing required libraries from PyQt5. Be careful for the capitalization of P and Q. .qt widgets. This is obviously for the widgets. Okay. I want to import everything. I also want to import Qt Core and Qt GUI from PyQt5. Then I want to import from Qt Core and Qt GUI everything. So from PyQt5.Qt Core import everything and same GUI like that. And also I want to import the sys module, which has to do everything with creating the application and starting the application. Okay, because we'll have an event loop, and during this event loop the sys will make sure that everything else is blocked until you click on the red cross in the window to close the application. Okay, so let me create a main class. So main class, and I will call it window, and this window takes a superclass as an input or parameter, and it's called QMainWindow. Okay, and why this is called a superclass or parent class? Because it has a lot of properties and methods which we can import in our window class. Okay, so we can make use of all these properties and methods already prepared inside QMainWindow. It's a PyQt5 class. Okay, we don't have to do anything. We just pass it as a parameter, and then we will inherit all the properties and methods inside our window class. All right, so let's go ahead and create a constructor. Let me add comment constructor method. Okay, def, and this is a dunder method init, and it takes self as the main or sole parameter. And here we are going to inherit all the methods and properties from the parent class QMain window. Super.init, like that. Okay, so inheriting I like the word superclass because it's more technical. Alright, let me just close that and F11 to make this bigger for you guys to see better. Next, I want to create the layout of the window itself. So I want to put the title, so setting the title. And as we're inside our constructor method, we will need to use always self. Self refers to this object, this specific object that I'm going to use later. So self.set window title, and it's a method that sets the window title. And here we will say loan calculator, that I want to set the geometry for the application itself, the layout, where it will appear, the width, the height, all of that. And to do that, we have a method called setGeometry. So self.setGeometry. So the setGeometry method takes 4 arguments: the x coordinate, the y coordinate, the window width, and the window height. So the x and y coordinate, generally in GUI, if you have worked with Pygame, for example, to design and create a 2D game, or if you have worked with tkinter before, you know that in GUI in general, and even in CSS files, you have the main layout of the page. You have the coordinate system, which starts from 0.0, from the top left corner, and it ends at the right bottom corner. Okay, so 0.0, and it ends at 1920 by 1800 pixels. All right, so let's say, for example, that we will set the geometry, the x coordinate and the y coordinate for 100. This is just for placing the window on the screen. So 100, 100 means that the x coordinate is 100, means from the left to the right 100 pixels, then y coordinate 100, which means from the top to the bottom. That means that the window will appear here, roughly. So if you will change it to 100 and 200, then it will go further, 200, and further, 200. It will be placed here. Okay, so the x and y coordinates just for placing the window on the screen. Next, we want the width and height. So let's give it 400 width and 500 height. And I think it's a better idea to create variables. So self.width will be equal to 400, and self.height, we'll give it 500. This way, if this code line is repeated anywhere else in the same file or even in different files, you don't have, if you want to change the dimensions, I mean, you don't have to change them line by line individually. It will be enough just to change the values for the variables, and that's it. It's best practices, actually. Try to do this always through variables, right? So self.width and self.height. Now let's go ahead and create an app object. So create app object, and by that I will instantiate the Q application class, which is a C++ class, and I will pass inside sys.argv. This calls the constructor of the C++ class Q application mainly, and passes inside this sys.argv to initialize the Qt application. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's also create a window class. So instantiate window class by creating a window object. So I will call it window with a lower key w, should be equal to the window class. And last but not least, we will start the application. Okay, and for that I will use sys.exit app.exit, like that. And this actually starts the event loop and blocks everything else until the application quits. So this makes sure that everything else is blocked until you exit the application. Alright, so let's go ahead actually and try that out. Python main.py, and nothing happens. Why is that? You know what? I forgot the show method. So we will need to show the window itself. It's activated. As you can see here, there are no errors reported. And it's supposed to be working, but it's not shown on the screen. So to show the window on the screen, we will need to say self.show for that. Showing the window. So let's actually kill that and we'll start over. And there it is. It's just on the other screen. Okay, loan calculator. Right, so this is the main window, and you probably didn't see because it was on the other screen, but it appeared somewhere here. 100 on the x-axis and 100 on the y-axis. It appeared roughly in this area. Okay, and it has the width of 400 and the height of 500. Okay. Okay, good. So let's close that for now and let's move on. So let's change gears now and start working a bit quicker. So now I want to add a function to add the main components. Okay, so function to add widgets. I will call it components like that. And it takes self. Then I want to create a head. So Q label. And here we'll say loan calculator, which will be centered in the middle of the application itself. And we'll start a new line and we'll say XYZ bank. Okay. And the second parameter is self. Good. Then I want to set geometry. So set geometry. So X and Y, and then the width 400 and the height 60. Also I want to set the font, so the font will be equal to Q font method. And let's use Times New Romans, so times and 15 pixels. Okay. Let's also set it to bold. True. And now we will apply all that to the head. So head dot set font, and we will pass the font. Okay. Also I want to put it in the center or align it to the center, so head dot set alignment. And here the Qt module dot align center. I also want to give it some color, so I will define the color or declare the color, which is equal to Q graphics colorize effect. So Q graphics colorize effect, and inside it takes self as input. Then the color, we will set the color to dark blue, so Qt dot dark blue like that. And then I want to set the graphics effect, and I will pass the color variable that we have defined or declared above. So head dot set graphics effect, and we'll pass the color. Okay, perfect. Now we need three main widgets or labels for entry. We need the annual interest, the number of years, and the total loan amount. So I will start by saying interest label, okay, in a comment. And I will call that I label like that. And this will be equal to Q, well actually, let me put it like this, better. I label is equal to Q label, which is a PyQt5 method. And here I will say annual interest. Here we need some properties. So I want the I label, set alignment, and I want to align to center. I also want to set geometry. So X will give it 20, Y will give it 100, and Okay, let's pass them directly without variables. That's okay. But it's always good practice to create variables for the width and height. I also want to set the style sheet for styling of the widget, like the background, the borders, and all of that. So I label dot set style sheet. Okay, and here I want to say Q label. Okay, and here I will say border. I want to set it to pixels, solid and black. Okay, and the background is very close to CSS settings, so background. I want to give it RGBA color, so RGBA, and this will be 70, 70, 70, and 35. 70 and 35, and we will close the curly braces. I forgot a semicolon, maybe here, like this. Yep. Okay, so this is just for the border and the background for the label itself. I also want to set the font, so let's go from here. I label dot set font Q font, and we'll pass Times New Romans and 9 pixels. Let's actually try that out. Let's see what we will have. Let's first pass self dot UI components here in our constructor method. So new integrated terminal. Let's kill all of that. And let's run that again. UI echo window object has no attribute. Why? Let's check out again. What happened? Components. UI. Oh, the C is capital. Sorry, my bad. Q label object has no attribute. Set geometry. Okay. Set geometry. Okay, let's try again. Geometry. Again, I have problem with the word geometry. Okay. Geometry. Okay, save that. Let's hope no more typos, and that's okay. There it is. Okay, so we have loan calculator in the middle, annual interest in the middle of the widget of the Q label, and we'll create 2 more labels, and we'll create 3 input fields for them, and then we will have 1 button and 2 output fields. Okay, so this is what we want to do. Okay, let's move on. Now we have created the interest label. We want to create an input field, a corresponding input field for the interest label. So let me add a comment, input field for interest rate. So we'll declare another variable, call it self.rate, and this will be equal to qline edit. Okay, edit, like that. And we want some sort of validation for the interest rate that should be only integers. So I'll declare another variable, call it only int, and this will be equal to q int validator. Okay, and self.rate dot set validator, and we will pass inside only int variable. So this is for the validation. So let's add a comment. Let's set the properties. So setting properties. Okay, so we want self.rate dot set geometry. Geometry. I have a problem with the word geometry, I don't know why. So x is 200, y is 100, and 180 for the width, and the height 40. Okay. I also want to set the alignment and set fonts. So set alignment, and here set font. We don't want all of that, so we'll use the Qt module with align center property and set font. let's use qfont method and pass times new Romans, and here is not self, sorry, pixels, 9 pixels. Okay, so also we want the number of years, so number of years, and we'll call it n years. This will be equal to the q label, and we'll call it just years, and here is self. And also I want to set some properties for that, so let's actually copy that, paste it here. And we also want to create a Q line edit like we did here for the interest rate. So let me actually take what from here. This actually Q line edit, it's self, take self as main parameter. Okay, and let's take all of that, copy this, and we'll paste it here below. Okay, so input field for number of years. And we also want to make sure that it's integer, so it's fine. Self.rate, okay, all of that is good. And the only thing that I want to change is the rate, so from rate I will change it to years. Okay, and here just to instantiate the QLineEdit class, and then I will do the same steps as we did for the number of years. Okay, exactly the same thing. Right, so we are done with the number of years, we have created the label, and we have created the input field. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that, but before we do, let's actually make some changes. So I want to keep this as label, so number of label, and this also instead of the I, okay, I will change the N, because we have copied it actually from the I label, or the interest rate label. Okay, and also 100, 100, so we need to go below by 50 pixels, so let's change this also on the y-axis, 50 and 150 and 150. Now let's go ahead and try that. Hope we won't have any typos in geometry. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, we have created the annual interest label, the years label, and input fields, the QLineEdit. Okay, let's close that and let's move on. Okay, perfect. Now I want to create the last label, which is the loan amount. So create the loan amount label. And so we had here the N label for number of years. We had the I label for interest rate label. And here we'll have a label which stands for the amount label, or you can have it LA label, loan amount label. And this will be equal to Q label, and we'll call it just amount. Okay, and we want also to set the properties, so let's copy everything, because we'll need also the QLineEdit later. Let's put it here. Okay, and we will just change this A label. And let's change immediately the position, so it won't be 150, it will be 200. So you see the difference, it's 200, before it was 150, and the first one was 100. Okay, for both the label and the input field, or the QLineEdit. Let's set this also for 200. All other parameters or variables are the same except for the y-axis, because they're moving down. So here we'll set it to 200. Let's say amount. Okay, amount. Save that. Let's go ahead and see what we can have. Okay, perfect. So we have the 3 main labels set with the 3 main input fields. Now we need to create a button and 2 output fields. Okay, we are making a progress. Let's actually add, let's make like this, a compute payment. So don't forget that we are still inside the main UI components function. And let's declare a variable, call it calculate, and calculate will be equal to QPushButton. You remember in the Qt designer, in the PyQt designer, it was called push button. Okay, so Q push button. We will say here compute payment. Okay, and also so here creating a button, the compute button. Then I want to set the geometry to that push button, so set geometry. All right. So calculate variable dot set geometry, and here let's give it 125 from the x-axis, 274 the y-axis, width 150 pixels, and for the height we'll give it 40 pixels. Okay, and the last thing, I want to add action to the calculate button. So calculate, this is very similar to the JavaScript property on click. So calculate dot clicked dot connect, and here we will pass self dot a function we didn't create yet. We will create that function in order to execute the calculation itself. So the logic will be, all of that is just setting the UI, but we didn't create the logic yet. So okay, so we'll call that function calculate action. Here we want also to create the output widgets for the monthly payment and total payment. So let's go ahead and create a label. So call it monthly payment, and this will be equal to, like we did above, is the same thing. Okay, and let's take the properties of that label. Let's take it from here, but we'll make some changes. So here I will assign to self, so be self dot, and I will call it so here I will assign it to self, and I will change the name of the variable, which will be equal to m underscore payment. Okay, and we'll change that. All right, and let's set the geometry. So here on the x-axis 50 pixels, and we will move downwards 340 pixels. We will give it 300 pixels width and 60 pixels height. Okay, fantastic. Let's give it a border of 3 pixels, and we'll change the background. We'll make it just white. Okay, and we'll increase the font, make it 11 pixels. And we also want a second widget, which will be exactly the same. We'll just change the name of the variable. So take that like this, we'll duplicate it and change that from payment to yearly, or you know what, it's not yearly payment, it should be total payment. And the total payment label has the same exact settings as the monthly payment. So here is monthly payment. Okay. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we have so far. Okay, it's complaining because it doesn't see the calculate action function we didn't create yet. So let's create it below here, def compute action. It's called compute action or calculate action. Okay. Okay, and for the moment we will pass. Okay, so let's run that again, and there it is. We have a problem. We have only one showing. Total payment. Oh, we didn't change actually the position of the total payment label. So we should put it a little bit below. So let's make it 410, and width and height will be the same. Let's run that again, and there it is. Okay, so here we should have the output. Of course, if you will enter anything, nothing works. Okay, because we didn't set the logic yet. So let's go ahead and work on that. Okay, so here's complaining because has no arguments. Fine, self as argument. Okay, so let's work on the calculations. Now, the formulas for the financial calculations are straightforward and you can get them very easily from the internet. All right, let's start by getting annual interest rate. Annual interest rate. And this would be equal to self.rate.text. Okay, because we have defined the self.rate above, and we want whatever text entered to be assigned to annual interest rate variable. Next, what we want is we want to check if there is no number entered. We want to just return nothing, or we can display an error message as you like. So to check if fields are empty. Okay, so here I will use if else condition. If the length of the annual interest rate is equal to 0, or annual interest rate is equal to 0, like that as a string, we can just return nothing. Alternatively, you can return an error message. Okay, so there is this QMessageBox property, so QMessage. So let me show you first. If we'll make return here, if we'll make compute payment, nothing happens, right? But let me change this for the moment. Let's use the QMessageBox property. So QMessageBox dot critical. Here I will pass self, the title, then the text. So we can say alert, for example, and we can say fill the blanks. Okay, now if we will try again, compute payment, we will have an error message, fill the blanks, okay, with this critical icon. Okay, so you're free to do what you want. I will just return nothing. Let's repeat the same process for the number of years and the loan amount 2 times. So instead of annual interest rate, we'll say number of years, and this is self.years. Here also I will call loan amount, and this is self.amount. Okay, we'll change this to number of years. Let's actually do it at one time. So number of years, like this, and this will be equal to loan amount. We are almost done. The only remaining thing is to get calculations. First thing that I want to do is I want to convert the text into integer. So I will override the 3 values: the annual interest rate, the number of years, and the loan amount. So annual interest will be equal to int of annual interest rate. Okay, and the same thing will go for number of years. Let's change both at once, number of years and the loan amount. So okay, like that, loan amount, and let's indent all of that properly. Now let's get the monthly interest rate. So monthly interest rate calculation. So I will create a variable. I will call it monthly interest rate, and this will be equal to the annual interest rate divided by 1200. Okay, because it's 12 month and it's multiplied by 100%. Okay, so this is one thing, and let's make some spaces. Okay, okay, next I want to calculate the monthly payment. So calculate monthly payment, and here I will declare a variable called monthly payment, and this will be equal to the loan amount, and it will be multiplied by the monthly interest, 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus monthly interest rate, okay, to the power of the number of years multiplied by 12. And let's also set the format for monthly payment for 2 decimal points float. Okay, so to do that is very easy. We can override the monthly payment inside double quotes to f. So the f stands for float because we will have floating number, and I want to format the monthly payment. Alright, we are almost there. We want also to set text to the label. So we want to set monthly payment as a text concatenated with the actual monthly payment. So add text to monthly payment calculation. So to do that is very easy. We'll say self dot, and let's call that variable m payment text, for example. And here we'll say monthly payment, and we'll concatenate that with or just like that, stir of this monthly payment. Okay, so we'll pass monthly payment converted from float to string, okay, because we cannot concatenate 2 different data types. So the last thing we need to do is to get the total payment. So getting total payment, and this is very easy. So total payment, let's indent that properly. So total payment will be equal to monthly payment multiplied by 12 multiplied by the number of years. Okay, but we have a problem because actually monthly payment is a stir. So what we want to do here is we want to convert that to float. Okay, otherwise it won't work because it's still string. Then we will do exactly the same thing like we did here. We will override the total payment. So actually, let me just copy that. Okay, and here we'll pass the total payment. All right, and that's basically it. We need also to add the text. So let's take this with the comment even. Add text to total payment calculation. So total payments, and here we'll pass total payment. And also this is total payment, okay, which we have defined here. And that's it, guys. So let's go ahead and try that out. Moment of truth. Okay, perfect, no errors. So let's try it out. So let's say the annual interest is 5%, years, let's say on 10 years, and the loan amount that I want to take from the bank is 250,000. And click on compute payment, and fantastic, we have the monthly payment of $2,651, and the total repayment or the total payment amount is $318,196,000 or euros or any other currency. I'm not defining the currency here. Alright, that's it guys. Okay, so we have written a lot of code. It's around 182 lines of code. Even less because we have some lines for the comments. But you saw that there was a lot of repetition in the code. We're actually repeating the same code blocks for the labels, the input fields, okay? So here we have the calculations at the bottom, and the design of the general layout is all of that. You can use PyQt5 to create different applications, like a weather application, a body mass index application, writing speed application, if you can do that. There are a lot of ideas that you can really turn to applications and use PyQt5 for that. Alright, so thank you very much guys for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. I always love to answer your questions, and I will see you in the next videos. Take it easy.